What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Sit Down Saturday. And first and foremost, Happy New Year, I believe this comes out on New Year's Day. If not, I think New Year's Eve is around a New Year's point. Anyway, Happy New Year. I think it's New Year's Day. I should really get my calendar out before I do things like this. Doesn't matter. Anyway, in normal fashion here, we always try to start the year, unless there's some sort of ground-shaking news that comes along, with our most anticipated releases of the year. Meaning, figures that are going to be coming along this year, in theory, due to reveals from the previous year that we expect to be released this year, and we kind of count down our top 10 if there are 10 available. It just so happens that this year there are 10 available. Now, as a point of reference, I am making this video on December 22nd, so there will be no housekeeping because I haven't been able to skip through time yet. I'm working on it. We got people working on it. Shout out to Raul, but until then, we're not going to be able to jump time quite yet. So look, let's start off the new year with good energy, good vibes, be good to each other. I had a rough end of the year. Let's start the new year right. Let's get on the right foot. Let's stay in a good place. Let's do it. All right, so let's start counting them down. These are my most anticipated releases for the year 2022 in theory. Now, one other thing I should say before we start is that the rules to this are we have to have some sort of inclination that it's coming, right? Some sort of real inclination. So like if there's a rumor on a message board that Fans Toys is doing Optimus Prime, it doesn't count. It doesn't count because we have no real inclination. We have to have some sort of picture or reveal to suggest that it is coming. Let's get started.
So let's get started, and we'll start with number 10, which is Flames Toys Cyclonus. As you know, I have mixed emotions about Flames Toys after their 2021. It wasn't the best year for them because they had a pretty huge blunder. And you may or may not know that when it comes to Flame Toys, I'm very selective. I don't think it's a line that I have any interest in being a completionist in. It's more about character-driven choices and whether or not I'm super into or in love with the character. That being said, I wouldn't necessarily put Cyclonus in my top 5 from IDW, but he'd certainly be in my top 10, and that may be enough for me to get this. I don't have any doubt that Flames Toys single releases will be great. They always have. They just bit off more than they could chew with that Victory Saber, and it showed. But this may be enough for me to go in on my second Flame Toys piece for my collection. It looks absolutely stellar, and we're only in the initial stages of reveal. Moving on to number 9, the X-Transbots Omnibots. The reason why this is so low down the list is while I do appreciate the opportunity to get some more obscure characters from the G1 line, and I love the idea of having them reimagined as if they were in the cartoon, in the same breath, they weren't part of the cartoon, right? So while I am excited about them, they're definitely making the list, they're just going to be further down because other stuff takes precedent. But I do applaud this effort, and I hope this is a sign of more to come from them, so to speak, in regard to obscure characters. I'd love to get the other 4 Insecticons, for example. Moving on. Number 8, 3-0, the company in general, but specifically their new line of figures, their Prime and their Bumblebee specifically, coming in at a very reasonable price within the SH Figuarts kind of market in terms of price point, with an action figure element that I think they finally have dialed in, along with beautiful sculpt and paint, with a completely reimagined line that's also within the spirit and faithfulness of G1. Once again, in regard to spirit, I couldn't be more excited about where this line goes. I'll be very selective about it if I do decide to pick some up, and I'm not sure I'll pick up either one of the reveals we've seen thus far, but let me see what a Grimlock looks like. Let me see what a Soundwave looks like, characters that are a little bit more near and dear to my heart at a $60 to $80 price point with the kind of love and care that 3-0 has been giving us recently. Yeah, I'm probably going to be in on that. But I'm just excited to see where this line goes, and I'm excited to put my hands on one as soon as they come to market. Coming in at number 7, and this is down the list for a reason, but Fans Toys Dead End or their Aerial Bots. And it has more to do with anticipation of completing my shelves for one, but also to deal with I don't know what's going on over there in regards to these combiners. So I am anticipating that we see something this year because we didn't hear a peep last year. Nothing since Drag Strip. They need to figure it out, and they need to provide a service. I have a video coming about what I would accept from Fans Toys that I'm hoping other people feel the same way, and maybe we can get some momentum behind and maybe change the tide in regard to how Fans Toys is approaching the combiners. But more on that probably towards the end of the month. But in spite of what you think of me, I'm still a glass half full kind of guy, and I'm hoping we'll see something this year in regard to them. Coming in at number 6, X-Transbots Run Amok and Runabout. These characters have been the kind of ongoing joke of this channel for years in regard to just naming characters that we probably would never get in an MP capacity because they're so obscure, and yet it's such a no-brainer because it's almost a 2-for-1 out the gate business-wise. But that being said, I couldn't have been happier when I heard that X-Transbots was doing them, and I'm super looking forward to them and very much so anticipating putting them on my shelf this year. Very smart move for them. They look great. And it'll be 2 boxes with huge check marks next to them once they get released. Coming in at number 5, the only real Fans Toys product that I'm looking forward to, with the exception of the combiners. And I'll tell you why. I am not going to be a mouse that will jump for every piece of cheese that you dangle in front of me. You sold us some magic beans and I threw them out the window, and I'm hoping to see a stalk one day. And that stalk needs to be in the shape of a Minosaur or a Superion. And until that moment, I'm going to look at you a little different. That being said, while I may not get too much excitement and kind of shrug my shoulders at the idea of a Huffer and a Mirage and all these characters that other companies have done, while I'm still waiting for them to complete what they committed to, in the same breath, the Skull Cruncher is a long time coming. It is a character that they should have done a long time ago. They should have released a long time ago to conclude their set of Headmasters. And in that regard, I'm really looking forward to them putting the nail in another set. I expect for this figure to be fantastic, and I think it will be one of those sets that feels good, like the Dinobots. Probably not as good because the Dinobots mean so much more to most of us, but I think it'll still give us that feeling like, boom, finished. Number 4, X-Transbots Protectobots. The Protectobots have been on my list for wish lists for the past couple years, and we finally got 2 sets coming, and I couldn't be more excited about both. That being said, this is my Defensor, and I'm less looking forward to the kind of combined issues that I think X-Transbots is capable of making, but I am still looking forward to it. I am still looking forward to getting it on the shelf. I'm just not looking forward to the process as much. That being said, I like the alt modes of both of the limbs so far. I think they're going to very much check the aesthetic boxes that I'm interested in them checking. I think I heard a rumor that Hotspot is next, so I'm excited about that. I'm really looking forward to Protectobots this year. So we'll just stay right on that subject and move right on over to MMC's Protectobots. I had the pleasure of looking at their first aid at that show last year, and I loved it. Was blown away by how much I loved it, in fact. It seems like whatever balance they were trying to work out with their Combaticon set, they may have finally nailed or locked in for the Protectobot set, at least with this first offering. It is right on the money. Sculpt is beautiful, paint is beautiful, the feeling of the figure was great, and it was an early prototype. Like, I couldn't be more excited. It just seems like a home run waiting to happen, and I'm ready to pitch. Foot on the mound, if you know what I mean. Which brings us to our final figures. Number 2, the Mastermind Creations tapes. Once again, I had the honor of looking at the steel jaw. It looks like exactly the way you would want it to look. It's one of those releases where, like, it only makes me more rabid and excited about the future tapes. So I'm really hoping they can kind of get that done this year. The steel jaw looks absolutely gorgeous. It's been a huge hole in a lot of our collections for years, and I can't say enough about it. It is without a doubt the main third-party release that I am most looking forward to in the year 2022. Which brings us to our number 1. And it may be a cheat, but you know what? I'm making the video. I'm spending the hours on editing it. I can cheat if I want. My friend Sam. For those that don't know, I talk a lot about Sam on the Patreon. I've had the pleasure of talking with Sam a few times. He also made that tailgate that I looked at last year in a 3D printed capacity. And look, I'm a pretty resourceful guy, but every now and then I need help. And I've been begging Sam, with fingers clutched, because I don't bend the knee for anybody. I'm like Daenerys of this review. But I've been begging Sam to give me the world that my IDW collection needs and deserves. And I've almost been doing it jokingly. And you know what? That crazy son of a he's designed it. And I've been aware of it for a little bit of more time than I'm letting on. But now that he's finally put pictures on his Twitter that you should be following, that is the character and the figure that I am most looking forward to in 2022. Not only is he a friend of mine and a tremendous artist, so it always means more to me anyway, but the character needs an appropriate representation and hasn't had one ever. He's super important to the IDW lore. He's super important to the Wreckers. He's super important to the Lost Light. He's important to the history of it. If you know the history, like, it's a character that should have been done right, and it looks like my man Sam I Am, is giving us the world that we need. And if he has it his way, we'll probably get it for free, because that's the type of dude he is. He'll just have some link where you can download the files. But he should be charging y'all, and me, to be fair, because the dude's an artist, and artists deserve to get paid for their art. But yeah, that's my list. If you think my number 1 is a cheat, I disagree, but just take my number 2 up as a number 1. And if I had to throw an honorable mention in there, it would be the fingers crossed that we got a Predaking from Zeta. I just don't have much faith in that anymore.
So pretty strong list, and I'm looking forward to a lot of those releases. That Protectabot set's going to be a big check off. Now, next week, what we'll do, as long as nothing earth-shattering comes out, what we usually do here is we do one video at the beginning of the year for most anticipated, and then we do the next video is our wish list for the year, meaning things that we hope will get announced. And we talk about previous wish lists as well and see if any of our wishes, kind of theoretically came true. We're also going to be having a conversation about the Fans Toys Combiners here soon that needs to happen in terms of what I suggest they do as a kind of a Hail Mary in order to get this thing done. We got a TFC past, present, and future that my boy Andy helped me on. Like there's a lot coming. I'm excited about it. Happy New Year. Every day is a blessing. Appreciate your loved ones. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.